My name is Chloe, and I was very humiliated. Now I'm afraid to go to school, and all because I wanted to be popular, but the price was too high. A month ago, I was an ordinary schoolgirl whom no one paid attention to, and it was very stressful. I wanted to be like Lily, Mindy, or even Elektra, our high school stars. Watching them, I constantly compared myself with girls. Well, what's wrong with me? I'm not ugly. I'm tall with long hair. Why does no one notice me? I don't even have girlfriends, only Pepe, with whom we hang out at recess. He patiently listened to all my complaints and whining because he himself was also tormented by unrequited love for the captain of the hockey team. And here again, during the break, I complained to Pepe how boring and uninteresting I was. Suddenly, he stopped abruptly and said solemnly, "I know what will help you, Chloe." And he resolutely pointed forward with his finger. On the wall, I saw a large poster, which schoolgirls stuck around from all sides. The school announced a beauty contest, and the winner will fight for the crown of the city queen. No, Pepe, are you crazy? What kind of queen am I? We'll take care of everything, honey. I'll do your wardrobe, hairstyles, in a word, your style, and trust me, I won't let you down. Pepe dragged me into the office, where they accepted applications for participation in the competition. And voila, I became a participant under the number 55. I was shocked. I didn't think so many girls would want to participate. And when I saw the list of contestants, I realized that I had no choice. Are you serious? While I felt sorry for myself, I did not notice how Elektra approached me. The girl knew her worth. That year, she won the school beauty pageant. And it seemed that since then, she has not removed the crown. For unknown reasons, she did not take part in the city competition. But the title of the school beauty queen was enough for her to turn her nose up to heaven. I decided to try. I barely audibly answered the girl. "If you think that this peacock," Elektra nodded towards Pepe, "will help you, you are very mistaken. You need me to win. Let me know when you do. But time is short, so I advise you not to delay." And grinning, Elektra followed further down the corridor. And what was it now? Elektra offered to help me? Why all of a sudden? We sat with Pepe in a cafe, and he dissuaded me. "Don't trust Elektra. This snake is up to something." And I remembered last year's awards ceremony for the school beauty queen. A full hall of people. Everyone applauded Elektra. The boys were whistling, and after that, Elektra became very popular. And I want so too. The next morning, I was waiting for Elektra in the parking near the school. "Clever girl, you won't regret trusting me." Elektra squeezed my hand lightly and handed me my training schedule for the competition. I had no idea that it takes so much time to prepare every day. I had a time schedule after school. Warm up and run in the stadium to tighten the body and look more athletic. Then a choreography lesson to learn how to move beautifully. Then Elektra taught me how to speak for an hour. I learned tongue twisters, poems, special chants to speak clearly and loudly. After 3 weeks of such training, I became more confident in myself. Walk, look, smile. I didn't recognize myself in the mirror, but I really liked the new Chloe. I was upset about only one thing, Pepe. He sincerely worried about me, but I could not communicate with him. That was the condition of Elektra. A week before the competition, she took me to her… Yes, it turns out she had her own stylist, beauty guru. And he picked my haircut, a new hair color. At school, they started paying attention to me, whispering behind my back. "You see, you're changing before our eyes, Chloe, and become popular." Elektra winked at me. I was no longer scared by 54 contestants. Another thing was alarming. Why does Elektra help me? I somehow mustered up the courage to ask her about it. "I just like changing people for the better. That's the whole secret." The day of the competition has come. I was going crazy with excitement, but the preparation helped a lot. My opening speech was perfect. The dance number was thought out to the smallest detail, and therefore caused a flurry of applause. And thanks to daily jogging, I had no equal in a fashion show in swimsuits. I won! Emotions ran high. A crown, a beauty queen, glittered on my head. I hugged Elektra tightly. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been able to do anything. And somewhere in the back of the hall, I saw Pepe's sad eyes. We didn't communicate with him for almost a month. After the competition, my life has changed a lot. The victory in the school competition of an ordinary, inconspicuous girl became a sensation. An interview in the school newspaper, a photo session with the players of our football team, preparations for the city beauty contest. Suddenly, everyone became interested in me. I had 15 days to prepare for the competition. I was very tired. Diet, great physical activity, defile, choreography, and I also had to do my homework. It was difficult, but I did not want to let Elektra down. She tried so hard for me. Somehow, a couple of days before the competition, I was running home late, barely dragging my feet. I had already reached the house when suddenly the bushes near the front door stirred. I screamed, "Don't be afraid, it's me." Pepe stood in front of me. I missed him so much that I threw myself on his neck and kissed him tightly. "Chloe, you need to stop communicating with Elektra." Pepe suddenly stunned me. I boiled. "What happened between you?" "I cannot understand. She forbids me to communicate with you, and you with her?" Pepe lowered his eyes. "She is not a good person, Chloe. I don't believe her. Elektra is up to something." "I worked very hard, Pepe, to be where I am now. I changed a lot in myself. And I really liked the new Chloe. If you can't be happy for me, then leave." And I banged the door shut in front of Pepe. It's a pity when a friend doesn't know how to be happy for you. And that day has come. The city beauty contest was held in a large assembly hall, where the public began to pull up in the morning. Girls from different schools of the city participated, and the audience buzzed, squeaked, shouted. Everyone had a powerful support. There were 10 participants in total, and I performed at number 8. Elektra kept saying that this was not bad. This way, the jury will remember me better. And here is my output. As soon as I appeared on the stage, the audience began to chant, "Chloe! Chloe!" I just took my breath away. In the front rows, I saw Pepe and the girls from the class, who were holding a large poster with my name. Incredible! The public liked me. After the first task, I scored the maximum number of points. Elektra stood backstage and smiled enigmatically. The fashion show also went smoothly. And in the final, there was a task to show your talent. I sang a song. Under it, the choreography was learned. Elektra chose this song herself. And it was incredibly beautiful. But when I got to the chorus, there was an uproar in the hall. One girl got up and shouted that it was plagiarism. And last year, one of the contestants herself wrote and sang this song. The jury looked at each other. I was nauseated with excitement. The audience in the hall, who were rooting for other girls, jumped up from their seats and started shouting that I should be removed from the competition. Tears began to choke me and I ran off the stage. "Elektra, what's going on? We watched the performances of the girls last year. I don't remember this song." Elektra stood calmly in the corner and smiled. "You watched those performances that I gave you." I had goosebumps running down my neck. "I mean, did you know? And did you set it up on purpose? But why?" "She wanted to take revenge on you." Pepe looked sullenly at Elektra. "For what?" "That's for it." And Pepe handed me the phone. And there was a photo of Elektra. It was easy to recognize her. Only her ears. They were insanely protruding on her. I looked at the girl in surprise. Elektra looked at me with a sneer. "Yes, I wanted to take revenge on you. I wanted you to feel shame and despair. Like I did that year. When, because of your mother, I was not allowed to participate in the city beauty contest." I rushed for a minute. My mother is a doctor in a hospital. And that year, she was on the commission that interviewed the contestants. They checked for ridged moments, deceit, falsehood. After all, the girls were capable of a lot to get into this competition. And I remembered. Mom was talking about a girl who had plastic surgery. At first glance, nothing like that. She just wanted to remove her protruding ears. But the competition rules forbade it. Any surgical intervention to improve one's appearance was a violation. "It was you! That girl with a scar behind her ears! You hid it, but Mom saw, and you couldn't participate in the city competition." After my words, Elektra rushed at me with a cry, but Pepe managed to stand in time between us. "Hate you and your mom! I have prepared so much for this competition. I should have won! And she ruined everything!" Elektra screamed at the top of her lungs. A very beautiful and talented girl won the competition. But not me. It was embarrassing and scary to come to school. I thought they would peck me in there. After all, Elektra thought everything through very subtly. She set me up with this song, and she herself came out dry from the water. But it turned out that while we were arguing with her backstage, one of my classmates shot a video and posted it in a general chat. The students took my side, and Elektra had to be transferred to homeschooling to avoid a hate at school. I didn't win the competition, but I've become much more confident. Reconciled with Pepe. I am grateful to Elektra for this bitter lesson. It made me stronger. Have you had similar situations in your life? Please write. And suddenly you get a whole story that we will tell and show on the channel? Like the idea. Then I'm waiting for the answers in the comments. Hello, I am Emmy. I am 15 and I am the most ordinary schoolgirl. We say about such people, an invisible person. But it turned out that if you offend me, I can get very angry and aggressive. And then, keep your eyes open. Although, since childhood, my mother kept telling me, Emmy, you're a girl. You must be gentle and soft. Don't get bullied. Don't fight. You are a princess. And I tried. Really. Another children take away my toy, and I smile. I get a slap on the back of the head from a girlfriend in the park. I bite my teeth and endure. At school, anyone could bully me. I did not give change to anyone because I am a princess. Calm, sweet, and boring. This is how I was when I was 15. I walked down the school corridor with my head down. 3 more lessons and home. Then homework, we'll bake an apple pie with mom, a TV series for the night, and sleep.
Hey, get out of my way!
Suddenly sounded over my head. I jumped up in surprise. The tall guy practically pinned me to the school locker and rushed on like a whirlwind. The other guys were running after him. Oh, those guys! They think everything is allowed. I mumbled under my breath, getting ready for class. The bell rang. The mathematician entered the classroom. A minute later, the door to the classroom opened with a roar, and on the threshold stood the same guy who almost knocked me down in the corridor.
Can I come in? My name is Dylan. I'm new. Sorry for the delay.
And he smiled so charmingly at the teacher that she nodded in response. And it was not only the teacher who was shocked. I felt with my back how all the girls in the class sighed noisily. Dylan was a cute guy who was very self-confident. And then, the unexpected happened. Please subscribe to the channel and click on the bell, and I will continue. Dylan's eyes scanned the classroom as he slowly moved down the aisle. A minute later, I heard a sugary hello. The guy landed on the only empty seat in the class, and it was right next to me. Lessons passed in a blur. My hands, knees, even my teeth sometimes trembled. Dylan saw that I was nervous, and he added fuel to the fire. It's as if he accidentally touches me with his elbow, and then he drops the pen from my side. After the lessons, I flew out of the classrooms like a bullet. Hurry up! Get out of here! Where are you in a hurry? Right at the exit from school, I ran into Heather, our queen bee in the class. She stood with her arms outstretched belligerently and looked at me defiantly. Heather was a star, beautiful, long-legged, with luxurious hair. She knew her worth and did not know my name. Yes, she peered at me, trying to remember, but in vain. The ram in her head was not enough to store the name of some moth. In short, you do not even look at him. I'm getting this handsome guy, understood? And Heather loomed over me, flashing her brightly painted eyes. I nodded quickly and ran away. Yes, take this Dylan with giblets for yourself. Painfully needed. The next day at school, the place next to me was occupied. Heather shoved her friend across the desk into it, and the empty space was now, of course, next to Heather. But Dylan didn't show up to school that day, and the next one too. Girlfriend again moved to Heather. A week later, late again. Dylan appeared on the threshold of the class again. And sure enough, he landed next to me again. Behind Heather, she growled softly in impotence, and I was so glad to see him that I even whispered, "Hello." He smiled but did not say anything in response. Yes, I understand. Who am I to greet him? Another empty seat in the classroom. After school, I hurried home. There was no mood at all. And suddenly something hit me in the back. I turned around. Heather. This snake threw an apple at my back. And this girl has more than enough strength because her shoulder began to ache. If you talk to him again, I'll knock your teeth out. Got it? Well, how can I compete with this long-legged otter in heels? And I slowly began to back up in order to have time to escape at the right moment, and rested against something soft and warm. Dylan. I pressed against his chest. He looked at me in surprise, then at Heather.
Girls, what are you doing here? Battle on apples?
He picked up from the ground the same green weapon that flew at me a couple of minutes ago. Heather immediately turned into a soft, fluffy kitten. She said, "Yes, we're just here. These are such jokes and..."
Stupid jokes. If you hit Emily in the head, there would be a bruise or even a concussion. This is not a joke.
Heather turned pale. She realized that her chance to quickly and successfully seduce the handsome man was missed, and I wanted to jump for happiness. He knows my name. He knows.
Let's go. I'll take you so that you don't fall under apple shelling again.
And we with him, showing the back of the stunned Heather, walked down the street. Thank you for standing up. I didn't really know how to start a conversation.
Dylan looked at me carefully. You need to put her in her place. Otherwise, it will never end. Or do you like being a whipping girl?
That's how I was raised. I don't fight. I don't swear. I don't fight.
Dylan chuckled. You have to be able to stand up for yourself. You will become more confident. You will be reckoned with. I'll help you if you let me.
This guy knew how to surprise. An hour later, we entered a small hall. In the middle was a boxing ring. There was a big pair. Dylan handed me boxing gloves, but the girls do not.
I began to argue. Don't fight, I remember. But boxing is not about fighting. It's about the ability to take a hit.
Dylan showed me a couple of tricks, told me how to move around the ring. We spent over an hour in the hall. I even hit the bag a couple of times. It was such an interesting feeling. For the first time, hit back. After training, we sat for a while in a pizzeria. Dylan showed me his photo from 3 years ago, and I was shocked. A thin, round-shouldered guy with frightened eyes was looking at me. "It's you!" Dylan nodded and said that he, too, was the same inconspicuous empty place as I was. But one day, a big gang of teenagers beat him half to death. He was in the hospital for almost a month, and there he was, helped by the attending physician. Every day, he motivated Dylan, supported him, told him that he had to learn how to take a punch. And then he took me to boxing, and it helped a lot. There was no trace of that frightened boy, and Dylan promised himself to help the same insecure teenagers as he was. From that day on, little inconspicuous Emmy, that is, me, began to change. I ran to boxing training 3 times a week. I began to notice changes in the mirror. Walking became more confident. I stopped slouching, began to walk with my head held high. Thanks to the physical body tightened, and I changed my baggy sweatpants to tight jeans. Dylan noticed my transformations and constantly praised for perseverance and work. And I fell in love. Ran to school to see Dylan. I tried to come to boxing training to catch him. I was ready to listen to his stories about self-confidence until the night. But he looked at me like a friend. There was never even a hint of sympathy. He respected, praised me, joked, smiled, and I wanted him to hold me tight and kiss me. 2 months have passed. I began to like myself, and I started to like other guys. Suddenly, Emmy became noticeable. Once in the locker room, we ran into Heather. She, as usual, tried to push me away to get through, but I grabbed her hand tightly and looked straight into her eyes. "Look, next time you will be torn off the wall." From that moment on, I was no longer afraid of anyone. Of course, an hour later, the whole school was whispering about it. Dylan laughed for a long time when I told him in colors how Heather turned pale and slid down the wall after my firm grip. "That's your merit, Dylan. He believed in me." And I, on emotions, threw myself on his neck and hugged him tightly, kissed him. Dylan froze in place.
Don't, Emmy.
He gently took my hands off my neck.
It's your merit. You have changed yourself. You have become the Emmy you always wanted to be, and I'm very proud of you.
It was painful. He does not like me. Everyone around likes me, but he does not. I wanted to hide somewhere in the corner and sob. I trudged home, locked myself in the room, and laid down in bed, just staring at the ceiling. I didn't want anything. I fell asleep, woke up late at night. My stomach rumbled, and I quietly opened the door. Suddenly, my parents had already settled down. I stomped into the kitchen for something to eat, but someone was in the kitchen. I heard my mother's voice. "I understand everything. Yes, thank you for helping her so much. She really has changed. Got more confident. Then we closed the contract and payment on the card. Dylan, thanks again." Dylan? Contract? Payment? What's happening? I ran into the kitchen, barely holding back tears. "Darling, I thought you were sleeping. Dylan was friends with me for money? Did you hire him?" Dylan is a very smart and talented guy. He's almost a genius. Helped so many teenagers. And helped you. Mom obviously couldn't find the words. A step away from hysteria, I ran to my room and locked myself in the room. He couldn't fall in love with me.
I was just a project for him. Dylan never showed up at school again. They said he transferred to another school. I wasn't surprised. I knew I would never see him again. But this time, I didn't give up. Continued training, and soon I even went on a date with one guy from a parallel class. The school year is over. It's already summer. It was only now that I realized that I was no longer mad at Dylan. The insults are gone, gratitude remains. The student fell in love with her mentor. What's so strange? But he really helped me a lot. I have learned to take a hit. I hope you enjoy this story, although a bit sad. And you too will straighten your shoulders, raise your head higher, and enjoy life.
I am Anna. I'm 17. I live in San Francisco, and I got into a very unpleasant story. I've done something that now I don't know how to fix it. And is it possible? And it all started because of a guy. Ethan is the name of the handsome guy that almost all of my classmates run after. His name is included in the wish list of every self-respecting graduate. About people like him, they say, golden youth, and here without exaggeration. From a wealthy family with a very famous pedigree. Handsome, smart, with a wonderful sense of humor, his pluses can be listed endlessly. And I dreamed about him from the 5th grade. Then we almost collided head-on in the corridor. And the textbooks that I carried in my hands scattered in different directions. Ethan quickly collected everything and returned it to me. And he also smiled very sweetly. And that's it, I'm gone. 3 years have passed since then, but my feelings for him are only getting stronger. All this time, I sighed hopelessly on the sidelines. Ethan will never turn his attention to people like me. After all, people like me are a herd around Ethan all the time. How to attract him? Recently, I was attracted to YouTube by an advertisement for the training How to Make Him Fulfill My Desires. The girl spoke so confidently about it that I decided to take a chance. Soon, we will finish school. We will all part ways, and I may never see Ethan again. So, with the money given to me for my birthday, I bought full access to the training. The first task was pretty easy for me. I had to answer a series of questions related to my victim. That was the guy called who had to be hooked up. And I had a whole dossier on Ethan. Therefore, questions like favorite dish, home address, what computer game does he play on weekends were super easy. My mentor, a very beautiful young girl, Lilibet, was constantly in touch and sincerely supported. Well done, Anna! Now we need to find a way to get closer to Ethan, so that you constantly flashed before his eyes, but unobtrusively. Knowing that Ethan was on the high school football team, I signed up for the cheerleading squad. Who else but cheerleaders are present at every training session of football players? And so it happened. Now 3 times a week, and sometimes on weekends, Ethan was constantly in my field of vision. In a couple of weeks, I had to start getting closer. Lilibet called this the first contact, which for the victim should happen as if by chance. After training, I sat in the hallway playing Ethan's favorite mobile game on my phone. Seeing out of the corner of my eye that the guy was leaving, I turned up the volume on the phone.
I didn't know girls played that game. I like her too.
Ethan smiled at me again, the same way he had 3 years ago. I was a little confused, but I nodded to him anyway. And for 3 hours, we played a mobile game together. This is your first small but precise victory, Anna. Lilibet praised me when I shared the news with her in the evening. After the game, we sat down at a cafe nearby, and I hit the jackpot again by ordering Ethan's favorite salad. We sat in the cafe until the evening. Ethan chatted me on all sorts of topics, wondering how much we have in common with him, and I just knew all the right answers. The next week passed like a dream. Ethan and I spent more and more time together. Every day, I pulled a new trump card out of my sleeve. I brought a couple of pieces of coconut pie to training, and after treating Ethan, I received a compliment in return. It turned out to be his favorite cake, and mine turned out exactly like his grandmother bakes. If only Ethan knew how much time I spent in the bushes with binoculars watching his grandma bake that pie. And then, as if by chance, I remembered that in the evening, I watched another American football match. And the San Francisco 49ers were as good as ever. Ethan jumped on the spot like a child.
Do you watch football? Are you rooting for the 49ers? Incredible! This is my favorite team too.
Certainly. I spent a couple of evenings cramming the list of the players of this team, and the reviews of their games are worn out to holes. By the end of the week, Ethan was convinced that I was the girl of his dreams.
He was waiting for me after lessons near the class, went with me to training, and escorted me home in the evening. When he gently grabbed my hand in farewell and touched my temple with his lips, I almost fainted. Finally, my dream is coming true. But according to the rules of the marathon, I have to behave detached. Smile, keep up the conversation, but do not take the initiative. Lilibet, I really want to hug him, grab his hand, and stop looking for the right answers. I told Lilibet in the Zoom about the past day. This will be the biggest mistake. It's too early. Now he needs a cold shower. Do you remember what it is? And Lilibet looked at me meaningfully through the Zoom window. Of course I knew what that meant. In the materials of the marathon, this was a turning point. I had to show that guy that he means nothing to me. To bind Ethan even more to me. It sounded crazy. But as Lilibet assured, it works. I needed to disappear and absolutely ignore Ethan's calls and texts. A few days and he must understand that he cannot live without me. For final instructions, we met with Lilibet at a coffee shop near my house. It turned out she was passing through San Francisco, so we met up. I arranged everything. You'll be out of town for 3 days. She handed me the keys to the room. It turned out to be a small boarding house in the wilderness. Wildlife, lake, birds, complete relaxation. I told my parents that I would stay with a friend for 3 days. Lilibet blocked Ethan's number on my mobile, closed my account and all social networks. No communication with Ethan, otherwise you'll ruin everything. I exhaled and went to the boarding house. There I walked all day, read, relaxed. I did not see other guests. The receptionist was always there, but he never disturbed me. In the evening, I went out on the terrace to admire the stars.
Good evening.
A soft voice came from behind. It turned out that not only I decided to go out for a breath of fresh air, Benjamin checked into the boarding house the day before yesterday. That was the guy's name. And it's not the first time he's been here. Sometimes he comes for a couple of days to relax. Studying at a medical university is very difficult, especially if you are from a family of famous surgeons. We sat with Benjamin for coffee until late in the evening. It was so easy with him. I didn't have to think what to answer, how to look. It was not necessary to keep in mind the entire list of instructions from Lilibet. It was just me. We laughed, gave funny names to the stars, shared our dreams. At night, already falling asleep, I realized that I hadn't thought about Ethan even once during the evening. It's funny. Benjamin and I also spent the next day together. Without saying a word, we met for breakfast. Then we walked to the lake. He spent the whole day lying on the sunbeds. First, we threw pebbles into the water. Then, we read each to our own. It turned out that it's even comfortable to be silent with Benji. And in the evening, near the reception, I noticed 2 suitcases. And Benji, are you leaving?
I have to. I can't cancel the study, but it was very cool here with you. I didn't think that I would meet you. So I left my contacts at the reception, and he handed me a small envelope. A few minutes later, a taxi pulled up to the boarding house. Benjamin winked goodbye and drove away. I hid the envelope in my purse. I will definitely write to him as soon as I figure out my personal life. I tossed and turned in bed all night. I decided that I wanted to end this game. I want to be myself. I don't want to fit in with a guy. Early in the morning, leaving the boarding house, I rushed home. I'll call Lilibet now. I will say that I did not cope, but Lilibet's phone was silent. Without thinking twice, I dialed Ethan. Silence. Yes, what is it? Okay, practice today. See you there. I was waiting for Ethan outside the school. I prepared a whole speech. Now he will obviously be offended and will bombard me with questions. Where have I been? Why was it impossible to get through to me? Here's Ethan, and with him, Lilibet. What? What does it mean? When they saw me, they stopped. Lilibet whispered something to Ethan, but Ethan didn't react. Now I'll figure it out. But as soon as I opened my mouth, Ethan raised his hand in warning. Don't, Anna. I saw the photo. You and him look great together. But why are you doing this to me? I didn't offend you. On the contrary, I thought we... Ethan, dear, we have to go. We have tickets to the VIP box, remember? And firmly grabbing Ethan by the elbow, Lilibet dragged him to the car. Trying to come to my senses, I wandered around the city until night. Lilibet used me. Both the boarding house and Benjamin were all set up. There on the terrace we looked like a couple. And this marathon? Tasks? Was it all fake too? Hello, Anna. I automatically reached my house, and there Lilibet was waiting for me. Listen, don't be offended. Yes, I liked Ethan. When I rummaged through the internet and realized what family he was from,
And then you have a complete dossier on him. With such information, it was very easy to drive up to the guy and fall in love with yourself. And I wanted an easy, carefree, and rich life, you know?
Run away now from here and not see this nasty, arrogant face.
Let's make a deal. You liked Benji, didn't you? I filmed you in the boarding house, and I saw there was chemistry between you. Take it for yourself. We've been working with him for a long time. The guy is not bad.
Get out of here! And quickly slipping past the surprised girl, I ran into the house. I didn't sleep all night. This marathon was a mistake. I decided to force a person to fall in love with me by manipulating him. That's what I got in response to slap in the face. I'm very embarrassed. Until the end of the school year, I tried not to cross paths with Ethan. I saw them a couple of times with Lilybeth, but then she disappeared too. Now it's summer. Through friends, I learned that Ethan did not work out with Lilybeth, and now he is fully focused on his future studies at the university. And I just try to forget this story. In a relationship, you have to be honest. I learned that. Here's my advice to you. Do not lie. Do not invent anything. Just be yourself. And then everything will definitely work out for you. And finally, I have in my hands the same envelope from Benji. I don't know what's inside. Maybe it's empty, or maybe there really are his contacts. Open it up? Write in the comments, yes or no. What do you think?
Hi, I'm Rachel, and I want to be popular at school. How else? Everything depends on your level of popularity. Will your classmates greet you, make friends? At what table in the dining room can you sit? And where will you ride on the school bus? The higher the rating, the cooler you are.
Stop! Watch where you're going! I could have hit you!
Suddenly, a cyclist braked right in front of my nose. Because of my thoughts, I was completely lost and began to cross the road without even looking around. Sorry, I didn't mean to, I mumbled. The guy was a little older than me, and judging by the clothes and the big backpack on his back, he worked in a delivery service. For a couple of seconds, the guy looked at me with interest, and then, looking at his watch, he jumped on the spot.
Crap! I'm late! Need help! Give me a call! And be careful! What is your name?
He was already shouting on the move, turning the corner. Rachel! I shouted, but the guy has already disappeared. He's a strange one. Hiding the business card that he just handed me hastily, I walked further to the school. What was I talking about? Popularity. As you already understood, if I talk about it so much, then my popularity level is below 0. And it is true. I tried different ways to fix it. At first, I decided to become a cheerleader. But at the first exam in the level of physical fitness, I failed miserably. Hanging out with a group of fashionistas was not all affordable for me. Every day I had to come to school in a new outfit, the cost of which was equal to my mother's weekly salary. I am silent about intellectuals. I survived only one meeting of their business club, and then I fell asleep in the middle. Of course, there is still the cream of society, the coolest guys in our school. But there is definitely no way for me to go there. There are only the richest, coolest, most desperate guys. And in order to get into this company, you have to pass more than one test. And not everyone can cope with it. And they were turned on by George. Quite a sassy guy who uses his charm to the fullest. I don't argue. He is an unreal handsome man. And every girl at school dreams of dating him. And even I. But I clearly understood that George would definitely not look in my direction. But somehow, a case turned up that changed a lot. For now, subscribe to the channel and please click on the bell. And I will tell everything in colors. My parents wanted to arrange a weekend for themselves. And now they announced to me that this weekend, I will stay at home alone. Wow, this was my chance. I decided to organize a small party, just for my closest friends. And I have very few of them. But in order to at least reach the status of a girl to hang out with, I took a chance and called some of the most active girls from the class. I didn't see much excitement in their eyes. Only the information that the house will be at our complete disposal all night cheered them up a little. Scrolling through my head about what I need to buy for the party and if I have enough savings for this, I almost ran into George.
Hi, I heard you're throwing the party of the year tomorrow. Am I on the guest list?
George grinned. Wow, how quickly rumors spread.
Whoa, have you swallowed your tongue?
Of course, come.
George nodded smugly and already on the move. As if, by the way, he said, "I'll take a couple of friends with me, okay?" In principle, my answer was not important to him. Well, I wanted to jump from happiness. George at my party? Yes, the whole school will make noise about it. But the evening of the next day, everything was ready. I cleaned the house, bought various sweets and cola. According to my calculations, 10 people should have come. Well, maximum 12. After all, George wanted to take one of his friends. By 7, a company of girls pulled up. They stuck together, whispered, but I didn't care. They are at my party. I turned on the music, put popcorn, snacks on the table, when suddenly there was a knock on the door so loud that we all jumped together. George was standing in the doorway with big speakers blasting crazy music.
Hey, and here we are.
George unceremoniously pushed me away and stepped aside. And behind him stretched a whole string of noisy guys. Not 2, not 3, but a crowd. I asked to roll the music, as the windows in the house had already begun to rung, but no one heard me. The guys kept coming and coming. I was horrified to see what kind of drinks they bring with them. My parents would definitely not approve of this. Half an hour later, my recently neat and clean house looked like a dump. The guys, most of whom I didn't know at all, behaved terribly. They danced on the table, dumped in their boots on the couch, swam dressed in the pool, played golf in the living room. From this madhouse, I have already started to have a headache. I really felt bad when I saw that my mother's favorite Venetian crystal vase was smashed to smithereens. And the curtains! Those were very expensive curtains from Italy. Bought last month, are torn and some guy is riding on them. I was horrified. The doorbell rang, and then there was a persistent knock. It was Mrs. Bedford's neighbor. She was beside herself with anger. It's late at night, and here it is. They threatened to call the police if we didn't calm down. I promised her I'd fixed everything. Barely finding George in this crazy crowd, I asked him to help me stop everything.
No, dear. You wanted a party, so get it. Relax and have fun.
George brushed me off like a pesky fly. Yes, I was not ready for this. And what to do? I sat down in a corner and sobbed. Maybe I should call my parents. I started pulling out my cell phone and suddenly saw a business card. Oh yeah! The delivery guy handed it to me. How did he say? Need help? Call? That doesn't sound right. But a second later I dialed his phone number. Martin, so it was indicated on the business card. In about a miracle, he answered right away. Quickly explaining myself, I realized that Martin would rush in now. Really? What a delivery guy can do to a bunch of these crazy creatures. And 10 minutes later, I heard the siren of the police car. My stomach froze. A neighbor called the police. Now I'm gone. Many of my intruders also heard the sirens and saw the police car parked on the lawn, and some immediately fled through the back door. But the most daring continued to have fun. The front door slammed open. A policeman stood in the doorway, glaring menacingly around.
You got a complaint. Nobody come out.
There was no need to say anything else. My house was empty in a minute. The frightened crowd skipped across the yards. Only the heels gleamed. Somewhere ahead, I saw George. Yeah, where did his pomposity go? Thank you, officer. I started warily.
Hey, Rachel. I did not recognize.
Martin? The police officer turned out to be the same guy from the delivery. Are you a policeman? Martin laughed in response.
No, this is my older brother's uniform. And his car. I thought that you definitely don't need problems with the police, but you also need to disperse this menagerie.
You saved me, Martin. I am now in your debt. Glancing at the mess in the house, Martin winked at me.
Wait a second to think. We still need to put things in order here.
Martin and I cleaned all night. Of course, it was impossible to hide the torn curtains and the broken vase from the parents. I was expecting a harsh reprimand and house arrest, and I also had to get a part-time job in a pizzeria to pay for all the damage. But I didn't complain. Everything is fair, and you must answer for your mistakes. At school, George came up the next day and even tried to apologize. Like, "You're a cool girl, Rachel, blah blah blah, but with parties, it's always like that." Believe it or not, I told him to go to hell, so that everyone who ran through the school corridor at that time could hear. George went nuts, and I raised my personal level of self-esteem. They began to greet me more actively at school. So this is how you can become popular. It's funny. But now I didn't care much. Seems I fell in love. The moment the guy on the bike nearly hit me, and then rushed to the rescue on my first call. And then he came to the pizzeria, where I worked part-time and made me laugh when I was insanely tired. A chance acquaintance with this boy had changed a lot in me over the past 2 months. I stopped looking at others, equaling someone. I realized that I can be interesting too, and cheerful and cool, and there is a person who does not care about all these ratings, but it is me who is important. I'll tell you a secret. Tomorrow, Martin and I have a real date. My house arrest is over, and I'm free. Now I will live as I want, communicate with whom I want. Does not matter what they think about it at school. This is true freedom. What I wish you too.